December 19, 1942. The frozen ruins of Stalingrad, the Volga River, silent except for the moans of the dying. Through the shattered streets German soldiers huddle in basements, their breath turning to mist. They were told victory was near, that Russia had fallen. But tonight the ice began to crack beneath their boots. A low rumble grew on the horizon. At first they thought it was thunder. But it wasn't the sky. It was the Red Army coming back from the dead. By the summer of 1942 Hitler's armies had swept across the Soviet Union. From the Baltic to the Caucasus the Wehrmacht had conquered more than 1 million square miles. Their new objective, Stalingrad. A city that bore the name of the Soviet leader himself. To capture it would be both a strategic triumph and a personal humiliation for Stalin. The Germans advanced in tight formation, their panzers rolling across the steppe. Luftwaffe bombers blackened the sky, turning Stalingrad into a furnace. By late August more than 40,000 civilians were dead. Hitler declared the city already taken. He told his generals, no one will ever remove us from Stalingrad. But the city refused to die. In the rubble the Soviet 62nd Army under General Vasily Chukov dug in. They fought from room to room, floor to floor, even sewer to sewer. They had a saying, you're not safe until you're one floor below the enemy. German officers called it Rattenkrieg, the Rat War. Snipers stalked each other across broken factories. Every building became a fortress. Every corpse a marker of lost ground. But while the Germans believed they were tightening their grip, the Soviets were tightening a noose. Far to the north and south two massive Soviet armies under Generals Zhukov and Rokossovsky were preparing the unthinkable. Operation Uranus. The plan: encircle 300,000 German soldiers trapped in the city. Cut off their supplies. And destroy the 6th Army, the pride of the Wehrmacht. November 19, 1942. At dawn a blizzard swept across the Don River. Soviet Katyusha rockets screamed into the gray sky, the signal had begun. Thousands of tanks and artillery guns opened fire. The ground shook for miles. German positions manned mostly by Romanian and Italian divisions were crushed in hours. The Red Army moved fast. Spearheads from the north and south advanced more than 30 miles in 2 days. On November 23 near the town of Kalach the two Soviet fronts linked up. A steel ring closed around Stalingrad. Inside that ring, the entire German 6th Army, 22 divisions cut off from the outside world. Hitler's orders were clear. The 6th Army will stand fast, not one step back. They would obey even as the temperature dropped to -30 degrees. Winter consumed Stalingrad. Food ran out. Fuel froze in drums. Men began slaughtering their horses for meat. The Luftwaffe promised to resupply the army by air 300 tons of supplies per day. In reality they delivered barely 80,000 starved. Frostbite blackened fingers and faces. Desperate soldiers boiled wallpaper for the glue it contained to make a thin foul soup. In cellars across the ruins soldiers wrote final letters home. Most would never be sent. January 10, 1943. The Red Army launched Operation Ring, the final assault to crush the pocket. Over 7,000 guns opened fire in a single day, the largest barrage since Verdun. Entire blocks vanished under smoke and snow. German lines collapsed. One position after another gone. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein begged Hitler to allow a breakout. But Hitler refused. He insisted that Paulus hold. On January 30, the 10th anniversary of Hitler's rise to power, he promoted Paulus to Field Marshal. No German Field Marshal had ever been captured alive. It was a cruel message: die rather than surrender. The next day Paulus surrendered. February 2, 1943. Silence settled over Stalingrad. Out of 300,000 men, fewer than 90,000 remained alive. Only 5,000 would ever return to Germany. The once proud 6th Army ceased to exist. An entire generation of German soldiers swallowed by the Volga. Hitler called it a tragedy. The world called it the turning point of the war. The Battle of Stalingrad lasted 200 days and nights. It claimed more than 2 million lives, soldiers and civilians alike. It was not just a battle for a city. It was a battle for survival. From that frozen ruin the Red Army rose stronger than ever. From Stalingrad they would march west to Berlin itself. And for those who survived, one truth remained carved into their souls. In the winter of 1943 the myth of the invincible Wehrmacht died in the ashes of Stalingrad. The city that refused to fall became the grave of an empire.